We lived a quiet life in Winchester. My parents worked 30 years for that semi-detached house. But our true treasure wasn't the property. It was my brother, Marcus, the golden boy, first-class honors from LSE, destined for Canary Wharf. He was our future. We sacrificed everything for his success. The day I found the envelope, I was cleaning out the attic. I wasn't looking for secrets, but there it was, a private loan document from Leeds. The amount was £75,000. My hands shook, but that wasn't the worst part. I looked down, and below his name, I saw a neat, cold forgery of mine. Adam Peter Hartley. He hadn't just borrowed money, he had fraudulently tied our family home to his debt. I kept it secret for a week, until the doorbell rang. It wasn't the postman. It was a man in a black suit holding a repossession notice. Dad's face went white. Marcus fell to his knees, screaming about his AI startup. But I had the real proof. He hadn't bought a startup. He had gambled the entire £75,000 on crypto and betting shops. My parents were broken. But then my father, who had always overlooked me, looked at me, the steady, ungolden son, and asked, "Adam, is there any legal loophole to save the house?" They thought their golden boy had destroyed them, but they forgot about the small print. They forgot that my job is logistics. The loan company made a tiny fatal error in the land registry. I found it. I was ready to fight. But the golden boy was about to ask me to make the ultimate sacrifice. Music, high-tension dramatic strings swell and cut off abruptly. Sound of a legal gavel hitting. The house in Winchester was a sanctuary, built on 30 years of my parents' hard work. A modest, comfortable, semi-detached home with a neat, rose-filled garden. I, Adam, 32, was the steady, working-class son, a practical man who managed the local council's logistics. My younger brother, Marcus, 24, was the star, the golden boy. Marcus had the easy charm, the sharp intelligence, and a first-class honors degree in economics from the London School of Economics, LSE. He was always the one destined for a life far beyond Hampshire. Our parents, Mom and Dad, sacrificed everything for Marcus, seeing him as their legacy. My own career was secondary. Marcus was the priority. Marcus had recently secured a prestigious graduate scheme with a major investment bank in Canary Wharf. The whole family was buzzing. Dad had dipped into his pension to buy Marcus a bespoke suit for his induction day. The trouble started subtly. Marcus would visit us in Winchester on weekends, flush with cash, talking about grand plans, starting his own AI trading firm, buying a flat in Shoreditch. He dismissed my council job with a polite, educated laugh. One Saturday afternoon, I was helping Mom clean out the attic, preparing to convert the space into a small home office for Dad's retirement. Mom gave me a battered, dusty box labeled Marcus's uni stuff. Inside, among his old lecture notes and a bottle of expensive, unused aftershave, I found it. Thick, official-looking envelope from a reputable but aggressive private loan company based in Leeds. The logo was embossed with cold, metallic certainty. I pulled out the document. It wasn't a student loan. It was a personal, unsecured loan agreement for the amount of £75,000. My hands started to shake. £75,000? That was nearly a third of the value of our family home. The borrower's name was clearly typed Marcus James Hartley. But the document required a cosigner and collateral. My eyes scanned the page, searching for the small print, and then they landed on the second signature line. My stomach dropped out. Below the borrower's signature was a neatly forged signature, almost identical to mine, but not quite right. Adam Peter Hartley. It was a blatant forgery of my signature used to guarantee a loan I knew nothing about. The collateral listed was equity in co-signer's primary residence. The house. Our house. I stumbled out of the attic, holding the terrifying secret in my hands. Marcus had not just borrowed £75,000, he had fraudulently tied our family home to his financial risk. And the repayment terms indicated the loan was already 3 months in arrears. Rehook. I hid the document quickly, my mind racing. I couldn't tell Mom and Dad. It would crush them and ruin Marcus's golden future instantly. That evening, Marcus arrived wearing his new Canary Wharf confidence like armor. He walked past me, patted my shoulder dismissively, and announced, "Dad, I need you to wire £2,000 to my account immediately. It's for an initial seed investment in a new venture." I stared at him, holding the document with the forged signature behind my back. He wasn't asking for help. He was asking for more money to cover the fallout of a secret debt that could collapse our world. The golden boy is sinking, and he's taking the family with him. Don't miss how Adam starts his covert investigation. Hit subscribe now. The following week was a blur of fear and quiet surveillance. I couldn't sleep. Every time the phone rang, I jumped, expecting it to be the aggressive Leeds loan company. I didn't confront Marcus. I knew confrontation would lead to immediate denial and would only hurt Mom and Dad faster. I needed proof and a strategy. I drove down to the solicitor's office in Southampton, using a sick day from the council. I showed Mr. Davies, the family solicitor, the forged document. Mr. Davies, a seasoned professional with 50 years of handling Hampshire property disputes, was grim. "It's a clear case of fraud, Adam," Mr. Davies confirmed, pushing his spectacles up. "But the fact that the loan is in arrears means the lender can now pursue the collateral, the house. If they file a claim, your parents will be served papers within weeks." "Can we fight it?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. "We can, but it will expose Marcus and destroy your parents' trust. The lender doesn't care about family drama. They care about their £75,000. I needed to find out where the money went and why Marcus was already unable to repay the loan. My chance came the next weekend when Marcus was out with his London friends. I broke into his room, a violation I knew was necessary. I didn't find cash or lavish purchases. Instead, I found dozens of printouts of complex, high-frequency trading charts and a locked laptop. I managed to guess his password, a variation of his LSE graduation year. What I found was devastating. Marcus hadn't spent the money on clothes or parties. He had used the entire £75,000 to gamble on a series of highly volatile cryptocurrency trades. The investment had crashed completely, leaving the account balance at zero. He was completely broke. But the fraud was deeper. On his desk, I found a clean-pressed graduation gown preparing for a professional photo shoot. Tucked inside the hood, I found a small, crinkled receipt, a cash payment of £5,000 to a betting shop in East London, dated the day after he took out the loan. He had blown the remaining £5,000 on sports betting, trying desperately to recoup the lost capital. Marcus wasn't a financial genius. He was a gambler with a reckless addiction, and he was funding it with family fraud. I took photographs of the bank statements and the betting receipt. I had my proof. That evening, the family had a quiet dinner. Mom looked tired, but happy. "Marcus is doing so well, Adam," she sighed happily. "He'll take us all out to a lovely pub in the Cotswolds when he gets his first big bonus." Marcus, sitting opposite me, smiled his golden boy smile. "It's all about risk management, Mom. You have to be aggressive to win big." As Marcus finished his speech about risk management, the doorbell rang, loud, aggressive, and unexpected. Dad frowned. Who on earth could that be on a Sunday evening? I watched Marcus's face. The golden veneer cracked. His eyes went wide with pure terror. He knew who it was. It wasn't the delivery driver. It was a man in a cheap black suit holding a legal document. The Leeds Loan Company had found the family home. Dad answered the door. The man in the black suit handed him a thick, official envelope. "Mr. David Hartley?" the man asked gruffly. "You have been served. Notice of repossession on collateralized property." Dad's face went white. He clutched the envelope, his eyes darting from the strange man to Marcus, who was now halfway up the stairs, trying to escape. "What is this, Marcus?" Dad demanded, his voice trembling. "It's nothing, Dad. Wrong address, just some spam," Marcus stammered, his usual eloquence gone, replaced by sheer panic. "It says our address, Marcus," Mom cried, reading the top line over Dad's shoulder. I stepped forward, calm but firm. "I'll read it, Dad." I opened the document. The language was cold, legal, and merciless. It confirmed the default on the £75,000 loan, the activation of the co-signer agreement, and the immediate commencement of repossession proceedings on the family home in Winchester. The co-signer? Adam, Dad whispered, reading the forged signature. "It's not my signature, Dad," I said quietly, looking Marcus straight in the eye. "It's a fraud. Marcus forged my name to secure a loan he already defaulted on." The kitchen erupted. Mom started sobbing, clutching her chest. Dad looked at Marcus, his face a mask of profound disbelief, the shock more painful than any anger. £75,000, Dad asked Marcus, his voice breaking. "For what, son? Why would you do this?" Marcus finally cracked. He ran down the stairs, falling to his knees, tears streaming down his face. "It was for my startup, Dad, the AI firm. It was a sure thing. The market crashed. I was going to pay it back before you ever knew." "You bet our house on a sure thing?" I asked, my voice laced with cold fury. "You risked everything we have, not with your own collateral, but with Mom and Dad's home? Why didn't you just ask us?" "You wouldn't have understood the scale of the opportunity," Marcus sobbed, still playing the genius. "You're too cautious, Adam. I needed to be aggressive." Dad, slumped into a chair, looked utterly defeated. "We gave you everything, Marcus. We sacrificed so you could succeed, and you paid us back with fraud." Then I presented my evidence. He didn't spend the money on a startup, Dad. He spent £75,000 on volatile crypto trading that wiped out, and then gambled the last £5,000 in a betting shop trying to cover his tracks. Marcus screamed, "Adam, you went through my things! You're a traitor!" "I'm a survivor, Marcus. You are a thief who stole our security." Dad slowly stood up, looking past Marcus on the floor. He walked over to the mantelpiece, took down Marcus's graduation photo from LSE, and deliberately smashed it on the floor. He didn't look at Marcus, he looked at me. "Adam, you work for the council. You understand bureaucracy. Is there any way, any legal loophole to save the house before the repossession date?" The entire family's hope now rested on the reliable, ungolden son, the one they had always overlooked. The clock is ticking. Can Adam, the overlooked son, save the house from the Golden Boy's irreversible damage? Hit like and tune in for the legal battle. The following days were a nightmare of legal meetings and emotional breakdowns. Mom couldn't stop crying. Dad was silent, his spirit visibly crushed. Marcus was confined to his room, still alternating between tearful apologies and bitter accusations against me. Mr. Davies, the solicitor, was blunt. "Adam, the only way to stall the repossession is to prove the fraud was instrumental in the contract, but that means pressing charges against Marcus. Can you do that to your brother?" "He did this to us," I stated firmly. "He made his choice. My parents deserve to keep their home. However, pressing criminal charges would take months, and the repossession was scheduled for just 3 weeks away. I needed a financial solution, not a legal one. I spent an entire night reviewing the loan documents. I focused on the fine print, something Marcus, the genius, had clearly ignored. The aggressive private loan company was based in Leeds, known for exploiting loopholes in the law. And then I saw it. The loan agreement, while secured by the house's equity, had a fatal flaw. The company, in its haste to sign the collateral agreement, had failed to correctly file the deed of trust with the land registry within the mandatory 14-day period required for co-signer collateral in Hampshire. I called Mr. Davies at 7 a.m. Mr. Davies checked the land registry filing date for the deed of trust. It was filed 3 weeks late. Mr. Davies was stunned. Adam, if that's true, the collateral agreement may be voidable. The loan is still active, but they lose the right to the house. This wasn't a criminal loophole, it was a civil one. A bureaucratic error made by the overconfident loan company. Marcus's genius was in gambling. My genius was in logistics and checking the fine print. We immediately filed an injunction against the Leeds Loan Company, citing the flawed deed of trust. The court date was set for 2 days before the repossession deadline. When I told my parents, Mom cried with relief. Dad, however, looked at me with a profound new respect. "You saved us, Adam," Dad said, his voice full of emotion. "You saw the detail none of us saw." "I just did my job, Dad," I replied. I look at the small print for a living. The problem was far from over. The loan was still due. Marcus, now fully aware that I had saved the family home, came down from his room. He didn't thank me. Instead, he saw my injunction as an opportunity. "Adam, listen," he said, his tone manipulative and familiar. "Since you've saved the house, you can take out a small personal loan yourself, cover the £75,000, and we can all move on. You're stable. The bank will approve you immediately. You owe it to me, Adam." I stared at him, realizing the golden boy hadn't learned a single lesson. He was asking me to take on his fraudulent debt just to clear his name. I looked at Marcus, the arrogance already returning, demanding that I, the practical, reliable brother, clear his monumental debt. "You owe it to me, Adam," Marcus repeated, his voice laced with the entitlement he had been raised on. "If this gets out, my career is ruined before it starts. The family will lose face." "You want me to take on your £75,000 debt," I stated, my voice calm, "to protect your reputation after you committed fraud against our parents?" "It's what family does," Marcus pleaded. I shook my head. Family doesn't commit fraud, Marcus. And I won the lawsuit, but I didn't save you. I saved the house. I walked over to the dining table and laid out the bank statements I had printed from his laptop, the crypto losses, the betting shop receipt. You are not a genius, Marcus. You are an addict. And the only thing that will save you is hitting rock bottom, not me covering your debts. I revealed my final plan. I had taken out a small personal loan, not for £75,000, but for £5,000. I am paying off the legal fees we accrued fighting your fraud, and I'm wiring this £5,000 to the Leeds Loan Company. This shows good faith and prevents immediate further legal action against Mum and Dad. "And the rest of the £70,000? Marcus asked, his face pale. "That's your problem now," I said. "I'm telling Mum and Dad that you need to sell the LSE graduation gown, your bespoke suits, and every valuable item you own. You are going to work in a local pub in Winchester, paying back that loan pound by pound until it is gone. You will not go to Canary Wharf." Marcus was stunned. "You ruined my career, my future." "No, Marcus. You ruined your future when you forged my name. I just ensured that the future won't cost Mum and Dad their retirement." Dad, who had been listening from the hallway, walked in. He looked at me, then at Marcus. "Adam is right," he said firmly, finally stripping Marcus of his golden boy status. You will start at the pub next week, Marcus. Your tuition fees were a loan, not a gift. You will repay us. The golden boy was broken. He packed his bags and without a word left for his new reality in Winchester, not Canary Wharf. 1 year later, the house was safe. The garden was still filled with roses. Mom and Dad were happy, finally free from the pressure of Marcus's success. Marcus was still working in the pub, slowly paying down his debt, sober and humble. I was promoted at the council. My steady, reliable work had not only paid off, but it saved the family. I was sitting in the rose garden with Dad. You know, Adam, Dad said, smiling softly, we spent 30 years pushing Marcus towards a life we thought he deserved, but you were the only one who showed us the strength and stability we truly needed. I just checked the small print, Dad, I replied, sipping my tea. Moral of the story: beware of the golden boy who prioritizes image over integrity. True worth lies in the quiet, dependable work of the ungolden family member. The most valuable asset in any family is not money or status, but the integrity to check the fine print.